Let's talk about tonight's episode of How to Get Away with Murder. Again, it was a pretty solid episode, and the last 5 minutes of every episode always seems to be where all of the juiciness and reveals from this week's episode kind of come to light. And we find out at the end that Annalise had her assistant Frank put the phone that Rebecca had from Lila into Griffin's car and giving him motive to want to kill Lila because he found out that she had an extracurricular activity, which was Annalise's husband. Obviously, no one's going to know that that is Annalise's husband's penis except for Wes, Rebecca, and Annalise, and of course Sam. So now we have we don't have a new suspect, but we have more solid evidence as to why Griffin would want to kill his girlfriend, and it steers some of the evidence away from Rebecca. And Wes in this episode basically takes it to Annalise, and he starts to blackmail her, and it's kind of cool to see Wes coming out of this, what do they call him, puppy dog or whatever, that's sort of like his nickname, because he's such a little sweet looking little boy, but he is kind of fierce when it comes to Annalise. And he basically tells her that if he has everything written out, and he also has another copy in a safety deposit box, and with one phone call he'll have it basically sent to the reporters and stuff, and everyone will find out that Sam is the guy in the photos on this phone that belonged to Lila. So that was awesome to see Wes step up and really take it to Annalise. And of course, Annalise is killing it in every single episode. She's got so many layers to her, and her emotional scenes, her scene in court when she was defending her client was outstanding, when she takes it to the mayor and she accuses him of killing her client's girlfriend because she was trying to stand up against the housing property that he was trying to force into the community. And that was a really good case of the week. I enjoyed that. So the gang was working on a case that was on death row, and they were able to, it was going through an appeal, and they had to prove that their client wasn't guilty, and that's exactly what they did. And in doing so, they proved that one of the eyewitnesses was perjured herself, and she was basically offered a bunch of money to give false testimony so that she could not be evicted from her home. And this man spent 21 years in prison and finally was able to go home to his family. So that was a pretty good case of the week. We also got a lot of information on Asher this week. He's my least favorite because he's kind of annoying. But we found out that his father, who's a judge, presided over that case 21 years ago, and he purposely let this case go to a guilty verdict because it was leaked to him that somebody had perjured themselves on the stand, and in doing so, in giving this guilty verdict, he was able to then go on and become, like, I guess, get a higher position in his judgeship. So, it was a good scene between him and Asher and his father, and we finally got to see a little bit of a backstory on Asher. We also found out by the end of this episode that Asher and Bonnie got together the night of Sam's murder, and that Annalise calls Bonnie and frantically and is asking if Sam is with her. So that I thought was very interesting. And we also find out that Nate, the cop, who lied to Annalise and said that her husband had an alibi, or his alibi checked out, he has had somebody following her assistants, and there's photos now of him planting the phone evidence into Griffin's car. So again, pretty crazy stuff. So yeah, the last 5-10 minutes of this episode was pretty good, and we found out a lot of stuff. And obviously Rebecca comes back to town, and she's really not sure she can trust Annalise, but at this point Annalise is doing whatever she can to help her client, which is Rebecca. So Rebecca comes back to town with Wes, and they show up at the Keating's home. And just before that, Sam is asking Annalise why Annalise is helping him after everything he's done. And she's like, because I need you. And she keeps repeating it, I need you, I need you. And she starts crying. And she's like, and I love you. And then he comes over and he kisses her on the shoulder. And he's like, I love you too. And it's just like, just so much dysfunction. So much dysfunction. Anyways, it was a pretty solid episode. We did get a little bit more flashbacks, but they weren't really that significant in this episode. Pretty much just showing Asher trying to get into Annalise's home when everybody was there, them leaving with the body in the car, and then Asher sleeping with Bonnie, and how Bonnie was like, nobody can find out about this. And so crazy, because we haven't even seen any hints that these two have liked each other or have flirted with each other. So I don't know where the heck that came from. And then Bonnie, because Bonnie's always lurking around whenever it comes to Laurel and Frank, and she keeps telling Laurel, stop, playing with Frank's feelings and emotions. And then she's also always lurking around with Sam and Annalise. So where this came from, I have no idea, but it just thickens the plot. So there you go. All right, guys, let me know what you thought of this week's episode, and I'll see you next week. Bye.